Hey YouTube world, I decided to do something different from what I've done earlier on, and that is like the title probably suggests. I'm gonna walk you through my discovery of Mike Stern and the music of Mike Stern, and the 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 relationship I've had with him over the years, like a very friendly relationship, and it's such a big topic for me, and I'm just doing this, just kind of winging it. I don't have a script or anything, but I kind of know what I want to bring in here with this video. And okay, so first things first. Back when I was 16, I think, I was heavily into blues rock stuff from earlier on. I grew up with Mark Knopfler, Eric Clapton, and Jimi Hendrix being my three favorite guitar players, and that's really what I lived on. And then in my early teens, or maybe I was around 14 or something, some band members of mine back then introduced me to two very well-known guitar players, also Stevie Ray Vaughan and Robin Ford. And I was just, for years, I was like heavily into those two as well, and then kind of combining those. So that's, of course, I've listened to a bunch of, a lot more musicians and guitar players but those were really my biggest influences. And then the Robin Ford stuff had kind of opened an interest for me for some of his fantastic playing, especially on the first 4 records, I think. Talk to Your Daughter and the Blue Line album, and the what's a Mystic Mile and the Handful of Blues. Those 4 records I've really gone completely crazy listening to and playing. And yeah, I think you'll have to excuse me because I have a cat out there that would love to come inside. And it's gonna take a million years to edit, so I won't do that. I will let you hang for just a second. Okay, so I didn't really plan that very well. And well, so I was listening to all these blues rock kind of things, and Robin Ford opened my ear got me interested in some of his stuff is just fantastic, you know. And then finally getting to the point, my lovely father, whom I miss dearly, he's been gone for 2 years now. He came in one day knocking on my teenage door, say, "Turn on the TV on Swedish channel number 2, I think." And there, my old black and white big CRT screen television, I turned that on in my room, and I listened to about maybe 10 seconds or something, and I just jumped out of my room, ran downstairs and grabbed the first VHS tape I could, and just threw it in the VCR and started recording. And I caught about 35 minutes or 35 minutes of the Mike Stern trio in Umeå from 1996. It's on YouTube, actually. And this was just on a mono recording and stuff, and actually quite a lot of his and stuff. And that became I just completely fell in love with that. And before that, I had actually a cassette tape from a friend who got it from his uncle in Paris with some Chick Corea stuff and some Dave Weckl stuff on it. He was a drummer, and this uncle had made this mixtape for him with the Weckl on drums, some from Hardwired and Master Plan, and some from the Electric Band. And I was really listening a lot to that tape just around. I copied that tape. So this was about 95, 96. And 96, so I heard Weckl, and I kind of immediately recognized the drumming stuff on that Mike Stern trio, and I thought, this is just completely, it blew my mind, no other word for it really. And that became my favorite trio of all time, with Mike, Dave, and Jeff Andrews, who I wrote with for quite a few years, and just before he passed away here a couple of years ago, very sad. And I was finally launching a plan with him to do a few concerts with him and some recording, and because that trio kind of got me. I was. That was kind of a love affair to this day. I still think Jeff Andrews is probably my favorite bass player of all time. Anyway, but I like a lot of different styles of music, but that's really close to my heart, those three guys, especially the early Weckl, from the 90s especially. I think he was, that was my favorite time with him, although he's still great. And the same goes for Mike, actually. He was a little bit more adventurous, and I liked his compositions and stuff was a lot more adventurous in the 80s and 90s. And I definitely love that a little bit more. So anyway, that trio stuff got me completely. I kind of wore that VHS tape out. I still have it, actually, because as you can see, I'm kind of a retro tape kind of aficionado. I repair and do work a lot with cassette decks, and I just started also working with VHS tapes. Okay, so anyway, I have you can see a bunch of my cassette tapes over here. That's about half of the stuff I have. And those in the bottom there are actually tapes all the way from my childhood, when I was all the way back till I was 6 years old or something. I still have that stuff. I have to repair some of it. Some of them have tiny, or actually broken, but I can repair that. Anyway, that's some of the stuff that I just never find time to do. But anyway, I have that still, that VHS tape with that trio recording, and I actually also copied that to a cassette tape. Here's one of my cats, and I just wore that thing out. I still have those tapes, and I started to. I tried to just in the early beginning trying to copy some of that stuff from that concert, and one of those things was this ballad, which is called Wing and a Prayer, and it's off of the Between the Lines album. But that version just has that it has a special place in my heart from that live show, and also some of the other tunes on there, which became a favorite immediately. And so on. You Never Know. Wonderful, amazing song composition. And also really featuring those swinging triplet kind of things with Dave, which is just completely amazing. And I'm really sorry, but I'm gonna let in my other cat right now. Yeah, sorry about that. This is gonna, by the way, this is gonna be a really long video, so maybe you can just cut it, take it in pieces or something. So anyway, 2 of those songs from that show, and then the last one was Ha Hotel. It's been a long time since I played these songs. Yeah. So that hotel with the long drum solo and all that stuff, and great playing, of course. And then they also played. I catched like half of this standard tune called "Yesterdays," which they played a lot, and Mike even still to this day with this wonderful ostinato hook that's also on. It's on a record from the early 90s or something with a great sax player. I forget who it is. I think actually the record is called Yesterdays. Been a long time, but that's a wonderful standard, and I've played that a lot over the years. And but that came from there. So those were and then the show ended with a crazy up-tempo thing, but it was just like a little piece of it with the rolling credits, and that was actually Beethoven Blues. And I found most of these songs, or some of these songs, from the Between the Lines album. Yeah, it's just a up-tempo F blues. But all this stuff was new to me, and I sat down with my CD player and my tape, and I was just... Anyway, just, finding every note, just listening. And that's actually something I talk about with students for years now. And it's my passionate, I have, what's it called? I'm very passionate about the effort you put into learning stuff and getting good at it, working on the passion and water the flowers and all those things. What I'm talking about here is that with the invention of the internet and with all this stupid social media and YouTube and streaming, oh God, I hate streaming. it has completely destroyed the music business. That's not a new thing. People have been talking about that for 10 or 20 years now. And it's just sad the way things have turned out, in my opinion. I try to stay away from being pessimistic, but it's been one downhill trajectory. Is that the word? Of all my adult life, and it's just completely sad to see. And it makes it very hard to do stuff with music, like anything real, and people's attention span has been reduced to meaningless TikTok videos and stuff like that. So anyway, it's my sincere belief that the things that you have to work to achieve is, of course, the stuff you grow as a person with, and you cherish the abilities you get, the passion around it blossoms when you have to work. I'm really not a fan of everything being easy. It doesn't make any sense for the human nature. You have to work to get good at stuff, or just, it's not even, I don't view it at all as a competition, and I don't view the goal to be the best. That's why music is beautiful, because it's not about, you can't measure anything really. And every time people talk about every time you talk about being good or proficient, and you already there in the words themselves, you get off the point of the music, because music to me can be a snap like that with reverb on it. Just to say some kind of thing about it. I just threw my pick here. Today I'm using my blue Fender pick, 1 millimeter. So that's why earlier, in the earlier days, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and we didn't have all that technology to kind of destroy our minds, really. And I really had to work for it. I sat with a CD player and a tape player, and like punched in, out, back, in, out. On CD players, there used to be a function called the AB function, and I set that for like 2 seconds. And I tried to get those, like some of those chromatic Mike Stern lines. This is not a video, a cat video, little one. So I will try to get on with this stuff, but the thing is, when you really work on this stuff the hard way, you train your ear, of course, and your musicality with it. So to me, it's become all those lines and solo things and melodies have become singable to me. And that's how, a way to internalize it, of course. And so I did that, and that's why it kind of became a really passionate thing for me. It's really irritating to have my mind wander off all the time with the cat. Anyway, I will try to get quicker to the point here. But now I've let you in a little bit on my mindset about modern times and everything that comes with it. So from that, kind of, I really dug that recording, and I really went very deep into it. I think for like 6 months, or actually a couple of years. That was my main. It was kind of like therapy to me. Every time I came back home from school, and I was just I had to be alone, and I had to listen to a big part of that concert just in my room. And it wasn't about learning. It wasn't about playing. It was therapy. And I can sing every note from that concert. And of course, my parents noticed this interest in the Mike Stern thing. And at Christmas '96, they gave me. I got the Jigsaw album from Mike Stern from '89, I believe. And that was my first Mike Stern album, and that's so dear to me, that album. I think that's probably my favorite album of Mike's of all time. Of course, there are more that I really love, but some of those melodies here. Yeah, so anyway, that's just a big bunch of messiness. But I really, that's a really crazy beautiful song. And the next one, that's called, why can't I remember that one now? I definitely know that one. It'll get back to me. But the next one is called Loose Ends. And I actually kind of knew that one pretty well back then. I sat down and got everything, the solos and melodies and everything when I was about 16. Yeah. I haven't played it since, I think. So it's been a while, but it's something like... Yeah, there's something wrong here. It's like a very complex tune, but it's... Yeah, and then... That's how it is. I can't really remember that one, but it's a great song. And there's some live footage of that as well with Bob Berg and that Dennis Chambers band. I can't remember that one. To Let You Know, and then the big hard groovy song, the title track. there's something wrong because this is in E minor. I don't remember it, but it's also crazy good. And the last one that I remember actually kind of copying that song, which is Mike Stern tune I've never heard anybody talk about it ever, and it's probably one of my favorite songs of his. It's called Quirk, which is like a very introvert up-tempo jazzy thing with Peter Erskine and Jeff Andrews and Bob Berg, I think. And Michael Breckers, he only plays on the Chief track, which is the nickname for Miles Davis back then. I didn't know this when I was a teenager, but and this Quirk was I don't remember the chords it's playing over. And back then, I'm not sure if I even actually got the tonality behind it, but I listened to every note and just copying it. It was something like... It's just crazy. There's this hook with these so yeah, this is just, I haven't rehearsed any of this stuff. I haven't played this in 20 years or something. I can't remember it, but it's just absolutely wonderful. I love it. And yeah, I still have the CD, and the next one I got was the Between the Lines, with those You Never Know. And the ballad. And there's also this funky tune on it. Yeah, that's the vine. That's called, and then there's also another one I really love from that. What key is that? This guitar is actually tuned down a half step right now. I haven't played this in a million years. Amazing music. Yeah. So anyway, that's Between the Lines album, and I kind of worked my way through it. And from here on, the next one I got was. I don't remember. That's the Is What It Is record. Also completely amazing music. the whole record is just wonderful. There's so many. Also, the ballad. Beautiful. All these songs, I haven't played them for 20 years or something, so please bear with me. But they are really close to my heart. And what more is on that? Of course, there's. Oh yeah. And great songs, and Ben Porowski on a few of those tracks, which is actually kind of my. Well, that album is just also a masterpiece. And the. And I never learned that theme, bebop theme. I wish I did. So yeah, also very recommendable. And yeah, I could kind of go on. And then I think I borrowed the LP from the library with the upside down side. Yeah, and that record really took me. Also the Talk about writing a masterpiece melody. That's just insane to me. Well, I can get very emotional with those songs, and also the. Yeah, that's the Goodbye Again, and then also the. Just wonderful. The only one I didn't really. Scuffle, an amazing song on the last one of that album. And then there's also the crazy one in the middle with Jaco. I also had that. I heard that so much from a kind of a bootleg thing. I thought when I was a teenager that I traded with a guy from the States when the internet was very young. I traded a lot of CDs back and forth by mail. I have a lot of bootlegs with Mike and Jaco and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, and there's a great one live in New York City. I think it's under the Jaco Pastorius name, and that live record is fantastic. They played this one, and and you can't find it on streaming for some reason, but get that one. And all is like a 23-minute version of Mood Swings that's just completely amazing. Actually, I feel like having a drink and just hearing that song right now. So yeah, this passing is just so deep for me. Thank you, Mike, and all the great players. And also David Sanborn on that first official record, Upside Down South. All his outro sax wailing, soloing is just completely amazing. Just screaming away. And then at some point I also got the Niche record, which is now actually on streaming, I think. It used to be unofficial record for Japan only, and I got that some I think Steve Jordan and some Hiram Bullock on rhythm guitar and some Sanborn as well. Mumbly Peg and some great maybe also Bruce, one of he's recorded that with a Danish drummer called Alex Reel on his record called Unreal, which is an amazing record. Get that record. Mike plays on, I think, only 2 tracks, 3 tracks, and one of them is Bruce. And there's everybody's just playing wonderful, but the 2 saxophone, Michael Brecker and what's it called, the saxophone. They call him something stupid. Saxophone player or something. Why is that just gone from me now? Michael Brecker and the wonderful, my good friend Anders Mogensen, jazz drummer here from Denmark, actually tours with him quite a bit sometimes. Anyway, I'll get back to that because there's so much to remember here. Completely wonderful record. And Better, better way. And oh yeah, they play Moment's Notice also on that. It's been a while. Anyway, and this standard is also featured on also one of Mike's amazing records called Standards and Other Songs, and they play so many of those great standards. And I remember starting out learning some of the So, so many great songs on that one. I really liked the Windows. And also the Nardis and so many more. Also, Lost Time with Randy Brecker, and those ballads that he wrote himself was just fantastic. And also Peace. Beautiful. Horace Silver. And then at some point, when it came out in 97, I went to my first Mike Stern concert in 97, I believe. Yeah. And that was I have that. It was recorded in very high quality on Danish radio and recorded that. I have a DAT tape with that concert on it, and they played. That was the 97 thing with Bob Shepard on saxophone and Weckl and Lincoln Goins on mic. Yeah. One-liners. They played that live all the time, and that was just around in 97. I think it is also that is the year that the Give and Take album came out with that track on it. I had heard it live. It was my first Mike Stern concert in Denmark, and I was blown away with that. And I had hidden a little tape recorder with a lousy quality. I still have that tape over here somewhere. Actually, it's very dear to me. But now that little plastic boombox in a bag that I had recorded on tape, like secretly, there was just a very a huge experience for me afterwards, or that concert. And of course, that's also they also played this one from the Give and Take album. Yeah, Jones Street, fantastic music, fantastic song. Much later, when I've been in New York 2 times really, and I can't recall if it was the first time or the second time, but I was walking around Manhattan a lot, of course, and I saw Mike a few times there, and talked to him a bit, and actually wrote a little bit with Chris Mindogi also, who was very kind to me on a long email conversation. Anyway, that's another story, the trip to New York, but I remember suddenly looking at a street sign, and it said Jones Street. And I've had that happen a few times in Manhattan, looking up at the street sign and recognizing a Mike Stern title, Avenue B, and a few others I can't recall right now. But and of course, there are more albums. I also sometimes sometime I was around 18, 19, I suddenly got the album Also Evens, which of course had the Yeah, so completely wonderful common ground. And there's, of course, the Breaker Brothers reunion in '92 with George Sweetie, Dennis Chambers, and James Genius and Mike. They play that a wonderful version of that also on there. But I really love the original as well, and I have many bootlegs of it. So many songs. Also, I really loved. That's what it is. Years later, they did that live with Weckl as an intro and outro. That's okay. I kind of I've always preferred it without. I'm not such a big fan of the sudden double time shuffle feel for that song. Anyway, but I love the original. So many great, and I love there's also a F blues kind of thing in the ending of that called Walkie Talkie that nobody talks about. I've never heard anybody talk about that. That's also one of my absolute favorites. Like on the Jigsaw album with Quirk, it seems like Mike had for quite a few years, he had kind of a recipe that ended with this this up-tempo kind of thing, F blues up-tempo thing, and somewhere in the middle there would be a nylon guitar ballad, and that was kind of for a few records there. That was a little bit of a plan or something. Even on standards, the one he called Source, the second tune on standards, is played with that song has another title on the Niche album because it's actually on there. Funny. So yeah, so much music, so many albums, and then I think after Give and Take, at this point I was kind of up to date, getting the records as they came out, and there was the play. Play, yeah, I know, and a lot of great songs. Also the Chipetina. It's been 20 years or something. Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. I bought that album, of course. And there's so many great songs. There's also that Blue Tone with Bill Frisell. And I I once saw the Mike Stern. I went to Sweden. When I was teenager, I met 19 or something. I met a great guy called Staffan from Sweden, who shared. He didn't play, but he had a bookstore with all kinds of. I think he had a lot of music literature, biographies, and all kind of stuff. And he was even more of a Mike Stern collector of bootleg stuff and all that. And we traded a lot of things, and we actually started visiting each other over quite a few years. And I went at one point. He lived in Göteborg, and I went there to see great concerts at Nefertiti with AJ Anthony Jackson on bass and Sherilyn Carrington on drums. I actually recorded that. I recorded quite a few of those back then on a mini disc recorder with a little microphone, and sometimes I just recorded with my Sennheiser headphones and plugged them in and used them as microphones. Little sketchy sound, but some of it is really, especially in the top end, of course, but some of them are really great live concerts that I really want to. I think about this every now and then for the last 10-15 years, that I want to try to find the time to sit down and do a great mastering on all those things. But the thing is, I can't share it with anyone, really. Of course, I can't share it with you guys on YouTube. I can't put that stuff out. But it's I have so much great stuff that I've recorded myself as well. Yeah, really I have 20 concerts at least that I've recorded myself. So much I could talk. Now I've just talked about the records and stuff, played examples and stuff, but that's how you get that vocabulary into your soul, really, get passionate about it and get the melodies in your fingers. So much stuff, so many songs, and of course I have always also been heavily into the 80s Miles Davis thing. And of course, I've been heavily into John Scofield, especially his stuff from the 80s and 90s. That's my favorite stuff. Not so much these days, but especially his Still Warm record. And I Can See Your House from Here with Pat Metheny, which I've also listened a lot to, and I have only kind of learned one of Pat's songs ever, which is the something like that. Yeah, huge fan as well. Just never, it was more difficult for me to find that stuff from Pat. Also, when I was like 18 or 19, I started listening to the Scofield record, Flat Out. Huge fan of that record too. And his version of All the Things You Are with that guitar intro. I learned that note for note as well and played it. But yeah, it's been so many years since I can't really remember it right now. It would take months to check up on all these songs that I've talked about and to try to play them all for you like they deserve. I remember a few of them pretty decently, but it's tempting to record some of these songs someday, and I have done in the past with unfinished album recordings. I actually did 7 years ago. I did a full album with a Mike Stern tribute album, and I just need to mix that and maybe redo or fix some guitar parts or something. I have so many unfinished albums waiting for me, and I have so little time. I think maybe I have 20 unfinished albums and all kinds of recording projects. It's completely overwhelming. And actually, I would love to get out and play more, and that takes so much time to try to get that happening. It's almost impossible here in Denmark. So yeah, so much great music, and I would love to do something more with that. Anyway, another thing I want to touch on a few nice things. The first time I had a talk with Mike was about 2001. They did some Yamaha clinic tour that I think Chris Medogi had set up or something in Denmark with 5 or 6 concerts all around Denmark, and I went to 3 of them, and I had recorded a little bit of with me playing all the instruments, just 2 guitars, drums and bass. Back then, horrible mix and everything, and I had that on a tape, and I gave that to Mike the first night in Copenhagen, and then 2 nights after that or something in Aarhus, or I think it was, or Aalborg, he had actually listened to it and said, "Hey, it sounds great, man." Also, always so supportive for so many years. And I asked him for a lesson, if it was possible. And he said, yeah, the following weekend I'm gonna be in Copenhagen. And I said, perfect. At that time I was living for a little while in Copenhagen, so I went there one night, like a Wednesday night or something. I was eating dinner with my girlfriend in Copenhagen at that time, 22 years ago, and I gave him my number back then, and that was just when cell phone was pretty new, and I wasn't sure if I had any money on it or something strange. So I gave him the landline phone number for my girlfriend, who I was kind of living with her for a little while. And suddenly I thought he wasn't going to call, and suddenly, it was a weekend actually, Saturday evening or something. And suddenly he called on that, and my girlfriend picked up. This is Mike, is Steffen there? And yeah. And I was 21, and I went down to this hotel he was staying at, and we kind of jammed for 2 hours, and then talked about how to find an open pharmacy and stuff like that. And he was so gracious with his time. I didn't pay him a lot, really. When about 90 minutes had passed or something, and he said, hey, you should get some of all this stuff that we talked about. And then he took the back page of my real book and started writing 2 full pages of notes, things to practice that we talked about, embellished chord tones and all that stuff, that scales and different kinds of stuff. So ever since then, I had a little bit of a relationship, and I've talked on the phone off and on. Sometimes years pass by, it's not like, but we, but I've had quite a few phone calls with him, and he actually got a cellular apparatus not so long ago, a few years ago, and I got his cell phone actually, and and a year or two ago, we actually got to set up a jam. We had a jam in Copenhagen in two weekends in a row or something, in 2018, and and then back in 2020, I think we had another jam in Aarhus, just a little bit like that, and actually that duo jam thing, I have there's actually 2 clips of it that we recorded on my cell phone, video clips that's on my YouTube channel here. If you haven't seen it, you can just search for Mike Stern and Steffen Brix. There's one where we were just jamming, trading solos on Alone Together, and the other one is All the Things You Are. So just in a hotel room, and and a little bit met up with him in New York a little bit at some of his gigs, and he introduced me to some Richard Boner and James Genius and Randy Brecker, and such a nice guy, really. And I wish I had the means to do more with these absolute legends that I love so much. It's always been that I've had quite a few nice feedbacks from asking my heroes in that genre, with Mike and Randy, Dave Weckl, and Jimmy Haslip, and that all of them have at some point they actually said yes to do some recording. If the things just have to be a professional setup with that stuff, and that requires a lot of time, and I've never had this, and now I don't have the time. I have a daughter that's almost 7, and ever since I got a child, so for the past 8 years, it's been really impossible to have a career going or launching a career. So unfortunately, this means that it's never really taken off. But if any of these wonderful guys that I love are watching, let's tour some together. And that goes for you, Sting, as well. If you are watching, if Rick Beato is watching, please get Sting to watch this, and let us do something with Dominic Miller and me. So yeah, this has been a long video, just me babbling about my experience with Mike Stern and the influence it's had on me. Crazy big influence. There are some of the other guitar players that I've talked about that's been equally influential. Almost, I think. Almost. Then I had a few years with Alan Holdsworth as well. Like, I found out about him and his music in 2018, and I finally got it when I heard some of his I consider his best record, the 16 Men of Tain, and then I kind of got into his sound and vocabulary, and I can't play anywhere in anything that resembles his playing, but the thing I took with me from some of his stuff is just spreading out a little bit more. I think that creates a very wonderful open sound. I can't remember it. Okay, I have to stop this video now, but thanks for watching, and I'm just wondering if there's any more I should remember to talk about regarding Mike Stern with this stuff. Yeah, he's had such a big impact on me, and I would love to play some. I would love to play something or do something really, but it's been. It's just not really an option for me to actually pay for that stuff to get those things happening, unfortunately. And I can't move anywhere where things are happening. Sucks. But yeah, maybe I should focus more on my drumming, so I could uh, kind of get to tour as a drummer with Mike before it's too late. I don't know. And it doesn't matter. And yeah, the last thing I want to say is all the comments and everything that I've received over the years from sounding so much like Mike, and there's been so much love coming, and also almost like hate coming from being and being insulted with being called names like being a clone and all that stuff. And to a certain degree they have kind of been right, and but also I've been a little stubborn, I guess, but also I'm trying to spread out a little bit more. Yeah, and I have no desire to sound exactly like Mike, especially not anymore. But I'm, on the other hand, it's I want to be completely true to my influences, and yeah, and I really love the sound, or a sound towards that big stereo chorus sound in different variations. Anyway, and with I've received so much mixed feedback from that, and so right now I'm recording this guitar straight into a plugin called Scoffham Amps, which is a very, very nice guitar amp plugin. And then that's the only thing I used there. And then I have 3 plugins: a Lexicon reverb plugin, a Lexicon delay plugin, and Studio One Presonus, which is my DAW, Presonus the internal stereo delay. And then I have a pitch shifting, a great plugin called Microshift from a strange named company called Sound Toys. That sounds to me a little childish, but it's a really nice plugin, and I can get very close to that kind of stereo detune sound, in like from all the way from just very subtle to kind of big, and it sounds pretty good. Very kind of close to the SPX thing, the Mike Stern sound. And it's kind of on purpose that I didn't take one of my 3 Telecasters that is kind of a Mike Stern humbucker Telecaster. I just thought I'd grab this. This is a Squier Classic Vibe. It's not the best one that I have, but it's a nice guitar. And I've changed out these electronics, so for those of you who are interested, the pickers we've been hearing is the JB Seymour Duncan here. And then I have a silver lace sensor. And actually, they are more like spare. It's a kind of a experiment guitar that I just put together. And then I have some a cheap kind of a Hot Wheel pickup here. It's too overwound and dark for this position, and I think I'm gonna change this at some point. But I kind of like I just took this to do something. to do something different than an exact Mike Stern kind of guitar. And I love that kind of a Alan Holdsworth vibe with that tone as well. The JB pickup is quite dark, and the silver lace one adds a little bit of single coil chime. So together that gives kind of a little bit unusual but very nice sound, I think. It has a very nice thump to the attack. So this concludes my way too long Mike Stern talking video. If you have any questions, serious or not so serious, just write in the comments section, and I will do quite a few more videos with some different stuff, and I think I'm gonna ask you a little bit if what you like to see the most. Educational stuff, or gear demos, or just live clips, or studio music recordings, and that's the stuff I've been doing on this channel. So okay, and it's quite late here as well, and my poor cat out there has to come inside. Coming. See you in the next video. Have a great night or morning or whatever it is, and thanks for sticking with me talking a million years on this subject. That's kind of everything I have to say about my Mike Stern connection, and he's actually playing in Denmark tomorrow and a few nights. Unfortunately, it's not with Dennis Chambers, which I would love to see with him. I've only seen that twice in my life. I would love to see that again, and Dennis is just perhaps my all-time favorite drummer. And he's doing so well again. And they are going to tour not so long from now, a month from now or something. They're going to play something. That would be awesome to see, but I don't think I will be able to. It's a big calendar stuff with family things. Take care. See you soon.